Hi, my name is Christopher Malcolm. I'm a Los Angeles-based lifestyle, fitness, and activewear photographer, and I'm here to talk to you today about working with subjects.
Now you're watching me, yeah, all eyes on me, 'cause I've been living the good life. So come fly with me into my fantasy, and we be loving the good life, good life.
I think this dream now just hit me. Why don't you just go there with me? Surf in the skies and splash in the clouds, dance in the crowds and laugh out loud. Holding your hand, unfolding a plan. Two souls in a land like gold in a pan. Float in the breeze or soak in the sea. Come go there with me where we both wanna be. Lie on the beach or fly in the streets. I'm trying to keep this vine in the reach. Putting everything I do aside, me and you are first. We can travel to the very end of the universe. You and me are meant to be divine energy. Living with no rules in a pool of serenity. Come be my fantasy, go away with me. Lock us up in a dream and throw away the key. Come on, live this up now. Good life, good laugh, good love now. Come on, live this with me. Good laugh, good love, we live free. Come on, live this up now. Good life, good laugh, good love now. Come on.
The marketplace for activewear has grown exponentially over the last couple of years, moving from just the playing field into all facets of life. No one's happier about that than me. I mean, not only are my clients some of the bigger activewear brands in the world, but I'm also one of those people who looks for an excuse to wear sneakers with pretty much any outfit. Being able to wear high tops to a business meeting, yeah, that's a plus. I created the Under the Sun series as a testament to that, to show that it's possible to feel good while you're looking good, and to show that activewear labels aren't only confined to the gym. I knew I was going to need to team up with someone special to help bring that vision to life. And Jeremiah and I had worked together on a previous series I did called Unstoppable, and I knew he was the right man for the job. Our previous shoot was based around American football, which is, tough and aggressive. But what stuck out during that shoot was Jeremiah's ability to move. I mean, not just in the sense of being able to move fast or jump high, but there was a certain level of kind of grace and a natural ease with which he moved, which makes sense because he's a dancer. And, like most dancers, even when they're not dancing, you can kind of tell that they have there's a certain way they carry themselves just differently than other people. So even though that shoot was ostensibly about American football, the way I communicated with him was really treating all the movements almost like dance moves. Then you take his dance ability and the concept of American football, you merge those two things together, and you end up with images that are just going to be slightly different than what anybody else is going to be able to offer you. And that's important because I think as a photographer, my job is not just being able to get subjects to do what I want. I think my job is also to kind of identify what it is that's special about that individual in front of the camera and try to harness that and use that and bring that into the process so that the end result is that much better. I tell that story because I think it's kind of essential to the way I like to operate as a photographer. I mean, as an artist, it's very easy to get wrapped up into, your camera, your lights, and all the kind of technical minutia that goes along with the photo shoot. But at its most basic level, when you're creating art, all it really is a dance between the artist and the subject. And even the most skilled photographer on earth is only as good as the subject. The story I always land on are the famous images taken by Robert Capa during D-Day of the soldiers landing on Omaha Beach during World War II. From a technical standpoint, a computer would throw them in the trash. The pictures, they're blurry, they're out of focus, they're super grainy. Yet they're some of the most iconic images you'll ever see. They're some of the most emotionally compelling images you'll ever look at. Yet how can that be when there's technically not, perfect? And the answer I always give to that question is that they're compelling because the subject is compelling. In other words, what you take a picture of is almost as important as how you take the picture. So getting what's right, getting the life that's going on in front of your camera correct is job number one of any photographer. Now, I'm not a war photographer. I'm not quite that brave. But the concept is still the same. Find the most interesting subject you can, get the most out of your subject that you can, and then let the technical details just kind of follow suit. Now I'm a commercial photographer and a director for advertising clients. But I got my start as a writer and director for narrative motion pictures. And I bring that up because I think that's really where I learned how to interact with on-camera subjects. In that case, it was actors. Now it's models, but the details are still relatively the same. The directors usually take a couple different tacks when it comes to working with actors. You have some directors who, like Hitchcock famously said, the actors are cattle. In other words, the director focuses on the visuals, on the art direction, and then the actors are just their additional props on the set. Then you have other directors who just kind of leave all the technical details up to the art department and the cinematographers, and they just get into they're almost like theater directors. They get into the little details with the actors in terms of blocking and every single movement, every little line, they just dictate to them. And then the best directors, I think, kind of find that happy medium where they're kind of in between those two, where they both work with the actors to bring out the best character possible, but also have an eye for the visual content and kind of can merge those two things together and create, kind of a great work of art. My primary job, I think, as a photographer on set is not to take a photograph. My primary job is to create an environment in which the team can succeed. I think, really, my first job is obviously to interact with the client, talk to the client, figure out, what is the story they're trying to tell, what's the emotion they're trying to elicit, right? Then I try to visualize some kind of style, some kind of aesthetic, some kind of world in which would be the best place to raise that kind of concept, to figure out how to set that, how to make that, put that into motion in a world in which that best expresses the client's ideas. Then when you're dealing with the talent, is almost the make or break point for the project. Because, no matter how great the brief is, no matter what I do behind the camera, if your talent doesn't bring it, then the whole thing's just gonna kind of sit at a certain level, right? So my job is to bring the most out of that talent. And I think the way to bring the best out of talent is the same way you would bring the best out of most people, which is provide them an environment in which they can thrive. So there are a couple ways you can do that. I mean, if you have, let's say you're telling a period piece in the Victorian era, right? And you bring in this wonderful actor and you want them to give a terrific performance. Well, first step is create an environment, through either art direction or lighting or whatever, in which it feels Victorian, right? So that the audience at home automatically clues in to what it is that you're trying to tell. Then you've already put the actor in a position to succeed. Similarly, if you're telling a mystery story, then from a lighting standpoint, you're going to want to use very kind of like hard lighting, very deep shadows, create kind of a mysterious mood. Then you take that same actor from the Victorian picture, you put it into the mystery, and all of a sudden the audience is in a completely different headspace and ready to receive what the actor has to give, right? Then you have to create an environment in which the talent feels comfortable, which goes from the way you run your set all the way down to the way you communicate with them, and really kind of let them know that they have a voice in the game. What you're really trying to do is create a safe space, right? So that they can play. These people are professionals for a reason. They're creative. They bring as much to the table as everybody else in the room. And you want to give them the freedom to give you their best. You kind of have to give people permission sometimes to really let their talent shine, right? Let them know that it's okay to try things. Let them know that it's okay to really kind of, let their freak flag fly, for lack of a better term. And that's just through a simple matter of just making them feel comfortable, making them feel like their creative ideas are heard, and trying to kind of incorporate that into the larger story, and trying to kind of, again, like identifying, Jeremiah's dance skills. It's like identifying, what that great creativity is they're bringing to the project, merging that with what the great creativity that the client's bringing to the project. You put those all into a bundle, and you try to take, the best from the talent to help tell that client's story. And then, as a photographer, your job is essentially to kind of shape that into the client's brief, right? once you've got that, all the great ideas from the talent coming, and you already know all the great ideas from the client, now it's just you just accepting all that the model has to give, and you're taking that and kind of molding it like clay into this brief that the client is trying to achieve. And now suddenly you found yourself with an on-screen environment that, through lighting and design, that's kind of perfectly suited to support your talent. And you find your talent open and willing to give of their creativity and give of their talents. Anything I do behind the camera, that's just icing on the cake. And now you've got this wonderful cauldron of elements that come together and can support the larger goal, which is to fulfill the brief and, create a happy client. My name is Christopher Malcolm. I'm a lifestyle, fitness, and activewear photographer and director in Los Angeles. Thanks for watching.